Hello, folks. Welcome. Thank you for joining us again. So, how about that part two? What did you guys think about that? Well, I'm sure that Gina will be joining us here. James Bonato. James says, "What a film! Yeah, what a story! What a story for sure. Very, very, very powerful. You can really feel the pain." Well, gee, Gina, I'm here too. So, Gina, that was your first time seeing it. How do you feel about it? Go figure. My phone's going off. You guys could guess who the message was from. I'm sure. So tell me, folks, what did you think about the story? It's pretty powerful, I thought. What kind of things stood out to you about Gina's story? It seems like such a terrible tale of injustice. Brenda saw the sneak peek earlier, and when it was over, I got a cannabis ad. I was laughing so hard. Yeah, the cannabis ad. Wow. Yes, Sally. Yeah, that's a good thing, I'm sure. Gina says, "I thank God that for that every day." I'm sure because there was certainly not a sure thing that the mother would get to keep the child. So what else? What else stood out to you? Where here's the thing. I'm learning about these cases as I go, and the feedback that I get from you guys helps me understand what other types of questions to ask and what things should be what merits more attention and things like that. Brenda says Gina's story made me thankful she got out before her son was old enough to realize what was going on. I remember running from home lots of times. So glad her children never experienced a domestic violence home. Yeah, that's got to be a terrible thing. James says the most unfair thing that was ever done to me is the source of my greatest triumph. I'm not afraid of anything or anyone. Tell me, does this sentiment in any way resemble what you went through? You meaning Gina. So how does that sound, Gina? Is that are you at that not afraid of anything anymore kind of frame of mind? It seems like the kind of thing that would have to give you this level of determination and strength through adversity. It's that we talked about it yesterday about that whole how the experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Experience is you grow a lot more from not getting your way than you grow from getting your way. Gina says, James, I think everything happens for a reason. I never gave up hope behind bars, and I think I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I still have nightmares, but I'm not afraid of my abuser. Good answer. That is such a giant ongoing victory. That is an everyday victory. Brenda says, check into EDMR for nightmares, please. It did wonders for my nightmares. And James says, I so look up to you. You know this, but there it is in print. Good job, James. Good thought, Brenda, and many thanks to James. Keep shining. Okay, that's a thing with Gina is she's obviously gonna keep shining. You can just see that. You can see it in Julie also. Julie Bennett, who's in the group, that there is this ferocious kind of determination to achieve, to move forward in some sort of meaningful, substantial kind of way, and that's very evident in in Gina's determination and motivation. And Julie, it would be so cool to be in a room and just sit down, Gina and Julie together, and watch the back and forth between them. Life. Yeah, I was wondering about the whole all uppercase lifer thing. I wasn't sure how to interpret that, but I was hoping somebody else might clear it up for me before I had to ask something stupid. Gina says she would totally hang out with Julie. Yeah, Julie's very cool. Hopefully, you guys will get to meet her very soon. You'll get to hear her story very soon. Not that that's a hint or anything, Gina, Julie. But yeah, I could so see the two of you, except for that whole different sides of the country. Julie's in Arizona. Gina is in Virginia. So, holy cow, I guess you could meet in Texas, right? To sharing the story. That's another thing that we talked about a lot yesterday was how everyone grows from sharing a story. It is such a big deal. And and throughout history it's always been a big deal. There was a big deal about storytellers back before there was written words. Gina says, Glenn, I had a lot of experiences behind bars. If you ever do an episode on inmate treatment. Okay, we can do that. They could meet in Oklahoma. It's more central. Yeah, we could meet at Toby Keith's place, right? I Yeah, whatever. But yeah, okay. If we can make it happen, that would be brilliant. I would definitely be there, and I think we would have to make some kind of story or go live from Oklahoma or something. I think that would be awesome. Sally says, I'm in good mental health, but poor as a church mouse because of it. Thanks, Brenda Miller. And Sally, where are you? Well, what part of the country are you in? Julie says, friends are considering moving to Texas. We will see. Okay. Well, there you go. So here's a question for some of you folks. At the beginning of the story, there is talk about how often, how common, I'm just going to have a look at it here. Okay. At the beginning of the story, there's talk about how common domestic violence is. If I can get there, come on, okay. And so at the beginning, like, I'm really just trying to buy time while I'm waiting for the program to get to the message. Oh, that's oh. Sally, I'll be praying for you, my friend. Poor is my middle name. That should change now that I quit buying fentanyl. Yeah, you got all that free cash. So at the beginning of the documentary and the first one says over 12 million people per year. Oh, come on. All right. Over 12 million people per year are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. 12 million people a year. 12 million people a year in this country, in the United States. So, with a crowd like that, 12 million people a year, it seems like more people should be talking about it. 12 million people a year. More people definitely should be talking about it. More people should be watching these stories. It would be great for all of you to repost a link to this story and encourage other people to watch it, because there is this story, part 1 and part 2, because there is important lessons in the things that Gina shares. Very important lessons. And so please repost it on whatever social media you think is cool, and encourage other people to watch the story. It's really it's important to me that this series gets a lot of attention just because it's important. I want to keep doing stories about topics like this, and we need exposure for that. So Brenda says, thanks. You have time. Make good use of it. I am old now. Well, Brenda, no, no, don't do that. It's poison to say that kind of thing out loud. Gina, you and I are. I'm sorry, Brenda. You and I are somewhere close to the same age, I believe, and you cannot say that kind of stuff. That I'm old now. That is defeatist. That is negative. Saying you're old now will make you old now. For me, I find that the big solution is to act immature whenever I can. That works for me. Sally said that. Oh, Brenda, I'm old now. Okay, yeah, I see that now. Okay, you were talking to Brenda. No, don't do that. I'm old now nonsense. Just knock it off, Sally. But as long as you're talking about it, so how old are you, Sally? See, I ask questions all the time, and it's just not a big deal to me to just blurt out whatever kind of ridiculous. All right, Brenda is telling Sally, I'm 58 and not sure how I'm supposed to feel. I have very low energy, but I think it's part of pause. So hopefully my energy will improve soon. I really believe that part of that energy thing comes from how you think. 72. Oh, that's cool because I'm not the oldest person in the group. That's awesome. So I appreciate that, Sally. You're really kind of taking one for the team. But it is as old as you think. It's as old as you consider yourself to be. I knew this voice actor. Oh, Pat. I knew this voice actor who married another voice act. They did narration stuff. But anyway, the woman, she was full of life. And her new husband was full of complaints. And I saw it. I knew the woman well before she got married. You don't need to help me there, Brenda. So I knew her before she got married, and she was full of energy. She was not immature, but she was certainly not. She certainly didn't have a old person mentality. But after she got married to a man who did have that mentality, who complained about his arthritis and complained about still having to work so hard and complained about how difficult it was to move quickly or to get out of bed, that she started complaining about those things as well. And so it's a big deal to have this youthful attitude. Julie says energy comes from passion and purpose for sure. But that passion could be tons of different things. It could be going and helping at a pet shelter, or it could be volunteering at a hospital, or doing something at a church, or doing something with Little League, or Boy Scouts, or Girl Scouts, or whatever. There's tons of opportunities to find ways to contribute in a way that matters. Brenda says, James, pause stands for post-acute withdrawal syndrome and can last up to 2 years after quitting opiates. I am in month 10. So, Brenda, you are probably at least past the halfway point with that. So, that's got to be really exciting. That has to be just a kind of a rush to look at where you're at and know how much is behind you and how much, and not how much, but how close that threshold is that you get to cross. And every day is a new series of discoveries that come from your journey, from where you're at now because you're sober now, where you're at now because you're in this community, where you're at now because of the other things that you're doing, using your life to help others. I feel like I missed stuff. James says, thanks, Brenda. Sally says, Glenn, time matters for lots of things. I'm not old mentally. That's cool. So, Sally, you're saying that mentally you're immature too? Is that like I am? Is that or okay? You're youthful, maybe is probably better. Good job, Brenda. Every day I wake up and realize I've been given a gift, and every night when you go to bed, you should realize the same thing, that the day that's behind you now was a gift. The peace that is with you when you lay down under the covers is also a gift. And all the things that are in your head that you look forward to, that's a gift also. The ones that'll come true and the ones that'll just stay on the horizon, and you can keep working towards them and keep enjoying the thoughts about them with the hope that you'll get there. So Brenda said, Glenn, every day I wake up and realize I have been given a gift. And Sally said, Yed. So I'm going to go with, let me just look here. Right next to the S key is the D key. And so I'm going to guess Sally meant to hit the S key, and that would be yes, exclamation point. You see, that's because I'm good investigative material here. That's part of what I do. And so I investigated that and figured out the mystery of what in the hell Yed means. Sally, my mom said the same thing. She said in her mind she's always 22. Passion has me up at 3:33 a.m. That's my most creative time. Me too, Julie. But I'm not saying call me at 3:30 in the morning, but I'm typically up by then. There's a wonderful quiet, and I really get immersed in the project that I'm working on, or the plans for the day, or whatever I'm doing. It's a wonderful, immersive time. Brenda, exactly, but time changes what you can do. Sally, that sounds defeatist. Uh, Panda Ann, my body says I'm old as dirt, but my brain says I'm still 25, just sober this round. Okay, so I had an interesting experience last week when we did that thing at the White House. At the White House, my wife and I were part of the audience that watched when the president signed the Halt Fentanyl Act. And so we were seated in front of the stage that he was on, in a stage that a bunch of bereaved parents stood behind him as he spoke and then signed the bill. And the bereaved parents that were behind the president, there was seven, at least seven of our storytellers were on the stage standing behind the president. One of our storytellers spoke, as in gave a speech, introduced, I believe, by the president. It was a interesting experience. But here's my point. I'm 63 years old. I'm sitting in the audience in the East Wing of the White House, me and my wife, and an intern, one of our editors, brilliant young man. And in the row in front of us are members of Congress. Most were senators. And while we're sitting in the audience, I'm talking to the guys in front of me, but I'm not talking to them like they're senators. I'm just having this conversation. Well, that snuck up on me, but I'm just having this conversation with them as if we're just a group of guys sitting in class in high school, goofing off while we're waiting on the teacher to walk in. It was kind of funny because they're senators, and we're just having this very much non-governmental kind of just a group of guys conversation. It was interesting. And so thought that was cool. And what struck me, because what made me think of this is we were talking about ages. I'm 63 years old. The senators in front of me, I'm pretty sure were a little bit younger than me. But in my head, I was the young one. I was the child in that group. It was just where my head went. It was strange. Anyway, again, Gina, my kids rudely remind me I'm old. They are 24, 23, and 20. Well, gosh, Panda, I guess you're old. Now, my mom is old. You know, just it wasn't long ago she was telling me about the Lincoln election. And, you know, that's... Huh. So, but that thinking, it's not just about thinking young. You have to think optimistically. You have to have hope, because worrying about things doesn't make any difference at all. It doesn't fix anything. It just robs your today by creating this stress that is in your head. All stress, all anxiety, all of that is 100% self-induced. And so if you manage your thoughts, you can manage what happens to you. So let me see where I'm at here. Julie, okay, that makes sense. I've had purpose in the past, but none with this much passion. But you do now. You are a bright and shining example. Even if you weren't doing anything else, and you're doing a lot. Every time you come here, you bring hope to people in our audience who are in recovery, or people who just wish they were in recovery. And you share. And that makes everyone feel better because they're closer to you and you're closer to them. And it works that way with everyone. We are only as old as you think you are. You're only as old as you think you are. And you're only as old as I think you are. No way. That's way too judgy. Okay. Shaky Beans. I know we've seen you here before. Hello, Cindy. Thank you for joining us. Glad you are here. Gina said, my grandmother used to say, if no one will know the difference in 100 years, then it's not worrying about. It's not worth worrying about, I'm guessing. Brenda, I've missed you, says Cindy. That is cool. Yeah, Brenda, we all miss you when you're not here. Where the hell is Brad and Carla? Uh, Managing my thoughts have been one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I've come a long way. That's awesome. That is such a victory. And it ought to be simple, right? Because it's just your thoughts. You ought to be able to manage your thoughts in a way that you govern the direction they go, and then the direction they go affects the direction your life goes. Julie says, I'm a storyteller. I know you're a storyteller. You have a t-shirt and everything. Now I have the shirt. Okay. I had a line last time I wore my shirt and everyone wanted to know the story behind my shirt. Well, that's kind of part of the point of the shirt. You know, on the back of the shirt, there's that QR code. Yeah, you can have them scan the back of the shirt and then just tell them, figure it out on your own. And they can go to the YouTube channel and figure out, you know. So, the shirts, the shirts are such a cool thing. They really are. I love that moment after the interview when I get to give the storyteller a shirt. And these, the Lifesavers, I think it's pretty impressive that this has been sitting on my desk for 5 or 6 days and I haven't opened it. Anyway, Panda, the mental obsession that comes with addiction, is a cruel beast, but you can and will beat it. There are mental obsessions that come with a lot of things. A lot of there's paranoia that can be triggered just because of some previous traumatic event that it creates this constant state of paranoia, this constant fear, this constant discomfort that affects how you interact with people and what you do and what you feel like doing and how you spend the limited number of days that you have on this earth. So managing your thoughts is such a big deal. And it's even a big deal in that if you manage the way you think about managing your thoughts, that can help too. If you think managing your thoughts is easy, then it will be easy to do that. Or it will be easier than it would be if you decided on your own that it's not going to be easy. Because whether you decide that it's going to be easy or not, either way, you're right. That's how it works. Wow, I'm getting a little bit preachy, I think. That's kind of weird. It's all right, no offense, Pat. Have you known anyone who's died because of addiction? Have I? Uh, no, but no, I don't believe I do. But I have a lot of friends now who have lost someone to addiction. A lot. We're still very much connected with almost all of our storytellers because of the Facebook group and also because of personal interaction, text messages or emails or Facebook Messenger messages or whatever. But we're still connected, and we have the Facebook group, and the Facebook group still has stuff going on, and people help each other, and it's a beautiful thing. So Pat says, I ate the entire second pack, Glenn, but I placed the empty wrapper next to the full one in our curio cabinet. He's Pat's still on the Lifesavers. I'm sure next time I see Pat, he's going to expect yet another roll. I can see that. And then after that, Gina deleted a message. I'm going to think it was something juicy. But that's just me. So Brenda says, Panda, I saw that after I wrote what I did about mental obsession 17 years is amazing. I am so lucky to have all of you in long-term recovery. Yeah. I haven't eaten them, Julie says. The Lifesavers rest on my dog's ashes in a box, a sacred shelf. My pups are my only family. That's how much those Lifesavers meant to me. Wow. So, Julie, you kind of have a family here too. You really do. And I'm sure plenty of people would agree with you. Pat, I don't believe you ate the Lifesavers. Can you pass a lie detector test? Yeah, okay. I believe that Pat ate the second roll. I believe he ate the second roll. And I believe he didn't eat the first one. I don't believe that. But look at it. It is just, it's so brilliant, I think. And I know that a lot of times when I put the Lifesavers in a storyteller's hand, I even point out, this is brilliant, right? And you just look at them. Here we go. Can I do this? There we are. You just look at them, and they look like high school or elementary school, and you can almost taste them just by looking at the package. Okay, let me catch up. Pat, I don't believe you ate the Lifesaver. Yeah. So, Cindy had her dog cremated. Very sorry. Pat says, I did eat the second roll, but the first one will never be eaten as long as I'm alive. Okay, here's something else I've learned in the course of doing the Lifesavers after an interview of someone who shared a life-saving story. I started doing this in 2011 when we were working on projects for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But here's one of the things that I've learned about Lifesavers is that if you let them get old enough, they become kind of chewy, and I like the chewy stuff. So let me catch up. Third time should get me 2 rolls. Yeah. We'll see, Pat. You'll have to get more. You'll have to get like national media to show up next time, and then perhaps mine are in the safe So if a fire or tornado takes everything, I will have my lifesaver. All four of my hound boxes sit on my shelf. My only family, my lifesavers are right there. Aunt Julie. Hard times should get you too. Shaky being strong support system. It is. Hello, Kimberly. It is a strong support system. The way that everybody in the group works together, the way that so many people in this group know each other and are supportive of each other, I think is really, it's beautiful. It's gold. It's wonderful. So, hello, Kimberly. Glad you have joined us. And Panda Ann is leaving. 4 a.m. comes quickly. I'm usually up by 4 too. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anyway, not too many stores sell lifesavers. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That it's a little bit of a challenge to get them. The way we get them, typically, we get these by ordering them off of Amazon. That you cannot find them. You can't go to a drugstore and find them like the old days. If you go to Walgreens or CVS or wherever, they typically have lifesavers, but they're not in this roll form. They're in a bag with individually wrapped candies inside. And nope, that's not going to work. That this has impact. When someone sees this and reads this after they have just shared their story, this has impact. Nothing else. Nothing else. I can't think of anything else that would work. So, Brenda, do you watch the YouTube channel Goodness in People? Wow, that sounds like an awesome channel. I'm not familiar with it at all because, I'm usually focused on making content. But Good in People sounds wonderful. Kimberly says my lifesaver is God. At the time when I was in the ER, they gave me morphine for pain, which I have never had before. I almost died from it. Well, I'm glad you're still here. Sally, I watched TPD and Soft White Underbelly. Both are excellent for my recovery. I will check out Goodness in People. Okay, Goodness in People. I'm just going by the name of the channel. I don't know anything about them. But something that focuses on the goodness in people, that is a good, worthwhile thing to drink in for anyone, in recovery or not. Recognizing that there's goodness in everyone. It always, thank you, Sally, Brenda, it always starts with your closing line. Ah, how cool. There is goodness in everyone. I imagine that most of you favor one political party or the other, but whichever party you do not favor is also full of goodness. Morphine makes your head itch. Uh-huh. Maybe it's maybe it's the kind of beds that are in Oklahoma or in Oklahoma hospital. I don't know. Sally, it's about a guy who helps the homeless in Tucson. Actually, we've been talking about going to Tucson to record some stories. Sounds fascinating. Julie says, I had to put down 4 hounds since coming to Arizona 12 years ago. I I brought my 2 beagles with me, rescued a 90-pound treeing, walking coonhound that had been used as bait for dog fighting. Holy cow, Julie, that's harsh. Wow. Brenda says, Sally, cool. I will check it out. My favorite aunt ended all of her prayers with a line when I was growing up, and it just stuck with me, especially now with so much chaos in the world. So, this my mother read me a passage about politics that was very critical of how politics work and the terrible divisions that within political parties and all of that. The thing is, and even though everything that was written was totally on target with what we're seeing now, it was something that was written over 100 years ago. 100 years ago, people looked at the circumstances that were going on then the same way we're looking at it now. So it occurs to me that maybe it isn't really that it's worse. It is, as we get older, we develop a more critical eye and can analyze and can analyze things more effectively. We are expecting to come back to Arizona. Uh, there's someone in Prescott that we want to interview. He's a doctor. His name is Ken Finn. And there's someone in Tucson, aside from the stuff that Julie, that you and I have talked about. There's someone else in Tucson, but it escapes me now. But I feel like once we announce that we're coming there, all right. So, Julie, I once rescued a basset who was a breeder female. When I got her at 4 years old, she had never been touched by human hands. It took me a year to get her up to snuff. I can't wait to see her in heaven. The hospital didn't ask me if I had it before the OP. What? I don't know what that means. You are a blessing, Julie. Imagine what they'll think when they see your story. That's right, Julie. You do have us for family. You're in Prescott. Uh, there's a new filmmaker studio I'm sure you could use. I will email you the article. Okay. When we shot in Albuquerque, we got to use a studio that belonged to the county. The Albuquerque County, Bernalino County let us use their studio. When we shot in Pensacola, we also got to use a studio, a commercial studio that you can hire called Hellcat Hangar. Wonderful guys. Julie, you're telling me to quit. Quit what? because I yawned. Was that it? Julie's in Prescott. There's a new filmmaker studio. Yeah, yeah. That sounds awesome. We have so many stories that we want to try to get caught up on before we run another trip, though. And we're going back to Florida next month, which is almost here. Ooh. Stop the compliments. Oh, yeah. You just gotta get adjusted to that, Julie. Then that happens a lot here. I know. Hospital didn't ask me if I was allergic to morphine or not. They just gave it to me in my arm. Oh, okay. Arizona is pushing their new tax credits for filmmakers. I don't know what I can do with that. I don't- Tax credits. I'm not sure we would even qualify. Anyway, we have been at this for over 50 minutes. So we are close to time to wrap it up for tonight. And we are going to have a fentanyl story premiere tomorrow afternoon. Maybe Gina. What? It would be cool. Gina has that production company thing going on. It would be cool for her to come out as well, wouldn't it? I could see that. Cindy says, "Do you know what strength it was, Miss Kimberly? Do you know like the dosage?" I understand. All right, folks. Uh, On the filmmaking. Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. So yes, a reminder: we're going to have a premiere tomorrow in our fentanyl series. It will be probably 1 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. We haven't done the announcement yet, but it is all pretty much in the can. That is crazy. If the nurse didn't let you know before just shooting you up, that's terrible. Well, cool, Julie. We can certainly try to sort something out. It always helps when we get some sort of uh, help with the location to shoot at, a hotel room, any of that. It's all gold. It rarely happens, but it's wonderful. Okay, folks, it is getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late. It is almost 8:30 here. What a wimp. All right, folks. So I wanted to thank you. It's time for Brenda to share her closing thought. That I found out I am allergic to iodine while inside an MRI machine. Iodine uh, for what? The dye? Your time. We're Oh, that's good. That's good, Julie. Good job. Good job. Good job. Yeah. So when is it in Arizona? It is 8:24. 8:24 here. So in Arizona, it's probably like 4:45 or something. Weirdos. What you take for granted, someone else is praying for. Yeah, I love that. Okay, kids. You're funny, Julie. All right, folks. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this. And I am so grateful for Gina to be to have shared her story and to have been such a major part of this. And holy cow, Gina, we do these 3 or 4 times a week. Not always with a live. Sometimes it's just the premiere, and you are very welcome in any of them. Any of the domestic violence stories, the human trafficking, or fentanyl stories, or cannabis-induced psychosis, anything. The recovery stories. So please join us next time, and the time after that, and the time after that. And please, everyone, share the stories. This especially stories from the domestic violence series, because it is new, and when we're really trying to make it grow, because it is so important. All right, folks. So remember, you can reach out to us at any time, and you can find us through all the usual channels. So here they are. Here is, you can email me at info@texas-pictures.com. And you can also find us on Facebook. You can search for my name, friend me on my name, or friend me by my name, message me on Facebook Messenger, or find us on Find the Texas Pictures Facebook page as well. We're also on TikTok, and our website is texas-pictures.com. And on our website, you can find more information about us. We have a link on the front page of our website, on the home page. We have a link to our merchandise store, which has t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies and coffee mugs and other stuff. And we also have a link on our homepage that'll take you to a page on our site that gives information about how to set up a storytelling summit in your area. It's not something we charge anything for. There's just some specific requirements that we have to make the storytelling summit work right. So I want to thank you guys all again very much for joining us. Remind you that there's going to be a premiere of a fentanyl story. It's a short one. It's under 16 minutes. And there'll be a premiere for that tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Central Time. So until then, thanks again for joining us. And you guys have yourselves a good night.